Level 1, $20,000. After taxes, you bring home around $1,400 a month. The bedroom you rent runs $700. What's left has to cover everything a body needs to keep going. You learn to eat strategically. Not well, strategically. You put $15 in the gas tank. Enough to get there and back. Anything more and something else doesn't get covered. You're at the checkout and the card declines. Not because the money doesn't exist. It's pending. You put the shampoo back and choose the bar soap. The person behind you looks at their phone. You perform not feeling anything. You've practiced this. You apply for jobs at 11 p.m. Every posting that pays more requires experience you haven't had time to build because you've been working this job. Every door has a key card you were never issued. The fear at $20,000 isn't about tonight. It's about the shape of your future. That it might look identical to today, just with an older face on it. First law. At $20,000, money doesn't live in your account. It lives in your nervous system. Level 2. $35,000. The first paycheck that deposits and doesn't immediately dissolve feels like a misprint. You check it twice. You sign a lease on a full apartment. The silence inside it on the first night catches you off guard. You'd forgotten what it felt like to occupy a space without negotiating your right to be in it. $35,000 doesn't feel like wealth. It feels like air after being underwater. The panic moved, out of your chest and into the background. You don't live in fear anymore. You live adjacent to it. For the first time, you have room in your head for what comes next. That question couldn't have lived inside of you at $20,000. There was no space for it. Second law. $35,000 is the first income where you stop running and start choosing a direction.
Level 3. $50,000. Adequate. Nobody says it out loud, but it's the word the number earns. Degree, job, direct deposit every 2 weeks. You did the expected things, and somehow, doing everything right just lands you in the middle. Survivable, not exciting. Your coworker in a different department makes $82,000. You found out by accident. Same building, same hours. A number that is emphatically not the same. $50,000 is where you discover that arriving doesn't feel the way you expected. It feels like standing in a room and noticing all the rooms you're not in yet. Third law. $50,000 shows you both directions at once. That visibility is the most uncomfortable thing this income gives you.
You wake up on a Tuesday and realize you haven't thought about your account since Thursday. Not avoidance. The number was fine. Your brain trusted that and moved on. And you didn't even notice when it happened. You fill your gas tank. You book a flight without a weeks-long internal debate. Small things. Each one still carries the memory of when that choice belonged to someone else's math. The social landscape quietly rearranges, not through conflict, just the slow accumulation of small differences. You learn to edit what you share, and with whom, not from embarrassment, but because you're describing a world with different physics than the ones some of your oldest relationships still operate in. Fourth law. At $75,000, money goes quiet. And in that quiet, you finally hear things about yourself you never had space to notice.
Level 5. $100,000. 6 figures. You chase this number for years. When it finally arrives, you sit with it. It doesn't feel like landing. It feels like realizing the map had more pages. The government takes 30%. In an expensive city, what's left covers comfort and very little slack. You're rich to your parents, average to your industry, and behind to your neighborhood. Same number, 3 completely different conclusions. The bigger discovery? The hunger that organized your mornings for years doesn't automatically convert into satisfaction when you arrive. The engine that ran on wanting is now idling, and you're not sure what it runs on next. Fifth law. 6 figures is a threshold, not a finish line. The real question starts on the other side.
Level 6. $150,000. The material changes are real, but the shift that stays with you is social. A close friend asks to borrow $400. To you, it's dinner. To them, it's how the week doesn't collapse. You say yes. They say thank you in a tone with history compressed inside it. You drive home, turning that tone over in your head longer than you expected. You stopped accumulating the anxieties of $30,000 years. Because you stopped accumulating them, you stopped understanding them from the inside. You can describe them, but you no longer carry them. And that forgetting is exactly what creates quiet distance between you and people you genuinely care about. Sixth law. At $150,000, money stops being the subject of every conversation. It becomes the reason some conversations no longer happen. Level 7. $250,000. The vocabulary changed without you deciding to change it. Tax refunds became quarterly estimates. Savings accounts became asset allocation. Your accountant costs more than your first car. The people around you earn similar numbers, not by design, but by gravity. Nobody performs wealth here. It's just the water. Here's what you didn't anticipate. You understand both ends. You carry $20,000 inside you with a vividness the people around you don't have access to. When you try to describe it, their faces go polite and distant, not from lack of compassion, but lack of texture. They don't have it. You have both directions at once. That makes you a translator in a room where nobody asked for translation. Seventh law. The higher the income, the more specifically you are understood, by fewer and fewer people. Level 8. $500,000. Money stopped being something you interact with. It became a system you manage from a distance. You no longer check prices. You check decisions against your time. Everything has converted. Time is the actual currency now, and money is how you acquire it. The identity gap is strange. The person who ate reheated rice in a parking lot after a late shift is technically you. Same name, same face. But the accumulated experience reshaped the context so thoroughly that the connection feels less like continuity and more like inheritance. You carry their resourcefulness, their awareness, their understanding of real scarcity, but you cannot return to them. Eighth law. $500,000 is distance. From prices, from panic, from the version of yourself who would have resented this version of yourself.
Level 9. $1 million. Nobody at this level says the number out loud. It lives in documents, wire transfers, conversations with attorneys who bill in 6-minute increments. You walk into rooms because your capital and your judgment are structurally useful to the decision being made. Not a social invitation, a structural one. That's a different kind of belonging. You still remember the parking lot, the paper bag, the shift that started at 5 a.m. You remember it the way you remember a fever. Accurately, but from the outside. The facts are there. The feeling is gone. The money didn't change who you are. It changed what your life is made of. And after long enough, those two things become the same. Ninth law. At $1 million, money isn't measuring what you have. It's measuring how far your decisions travel. Right now, someone is standing at a gas pump watching it stop at $15 because that's all they put in. Shift in 2 hours. Phone screen cracked. Doing math with no good solution. They think the distance between here and there is financial. It is, but it's also psychological, experiential, and social. And each of those distances closes on its own timeline, in ways the paycheck alone can't fully predict. The money changes, and then slowly, so does everything the money touches.